career futurist yet in my list of labels, and I'm totally keeping that one. Somebody called me an FBI profiler for companies the other day, and I was like, that's a tiny bit creepy, but I'll take it anyway. Thank you all. I am delighted to see you. I have been, actually, I will rephrase this. Christy and I have technically been ambition guides for each other for a really long time. We tend to poke each other when we need a little cheerleadering and reminder that we are actually awesome. So thank you, Christy, for the invitation. So logistics first, just to set everything up a little bit for you. One, I want to introduce you also all to Kelly. Kelly, you want to give yourself a little wave on the screen? Kelly is my partner in crime, right-hand awesome person, all of the things. Because I'm going to be out front with you, Kelly is going to be living in chat with you. So when hopefully we have time for an a Q&A session at the end, she'll be helping me logistics with there. She'll also be dropping links, resources, and all of those other sorts of things in chat, because if you have not been to one of my presentations before, I do ask for volunteers. Nothing more boring than a talking head for an hour, right? So we're going to have a little bit of a conversation. I'm also going to be doing some questions with all of you. So we've got some links and some tools to help you with that. So if you are curious, those will all be in chat. We'll also be collecting all of them at the end of the presentation and any other resources that I reference, and giving them all to Christy so she can send them all to you in a follow-up email after this session. Because what Kelly is brilliant at doing is keeping up with my crazy brain and all of the things that I change on the fly in a presentation. So thank you, Kelly, as always, for doing that. Okay, so you all heard what I had to say, and that oh so horrifying and yet liberating statement of every decision made about you and your opportunities being made in a room that you're not in. When you start to unpack that statement, what it means is that every single conversation you have, people are choosing the future you. They are deciding, when they're deciding in that room that you're not in, because that room could be a real room or just somebody else's head, they're deciding, are you somebody I want to engage with in the future? Now, I will give a caveat that parents and grandparents are the two categories that have an exception here because they chose to make you. But for everybody else, even your siblings, they choose the future you. Here's why I think this becomes important. Because the one question I'm always asking people is, are you making it easy for people to choose you? Now, I want to jump in on that volunteer thing really quickly. Who would like to be my first guinea pig? Can we get a hand, either do a wave or something like that? Bill?
Joanna?
Yes? I had a question. I saw Bill's hand wave. I got to meet Bill ever so quickly, only because I know you are a great fan of this program. We'll start with you. So I have a couple of questions for you, Bill. Have we got you unmuted? Awesome. Yeah. So I want you to introduce yourself. I know lots of people know you, but introduce yourself to me. So what's your situation? Who needs to choose you, and why do they choose you? I want you to give me those answers to those three questions. So like, what's your situation? How do you describe what you do?
Sure. I'm a brand new Focal Point certified business coach. I help entrepreneurs, business owners, and corporate executives sleep better at night. I love to connect with people and build relationships because that's the way I get my business. And so I'm really interested to learn some things about how to get people to, whether they see me in person or whether they see my website or they see my newsletter or my LinkedIn profile. I want to make it appealing for them to reach out to me and have a conversation, because that's how I build my business.
Awesome. Ooh, I will give a second for the audio to go down. So here's my question, because you talk about that idea of, are you making it easy for people to choose you? And I actually think Bill did a pretty good job here in explaining who he is and what he's all about. But how many of you right now could turn to somebody else in another room or in the chat and clearly explain why somebody should want to choose Bill? Clearly articulate the value of Bill and clearly talk about how Bill can help somebody in the future. Now, as I said, I think he did a pretty good job, because he said, you know, I help people, and I can't remember exactly what you said, but you actually talked about a future value thing. And that's when I'm listening to somebody just introduce themselves and talk about who they are, I'm listening for three things. I'm listening for, do they talk about their past? Do they talk about their present? And do they talk about their future? Now, in Bill's case, I think he talked a little bit about all three in a nice way, because when you think about the concept of past, present, and future, in your past, you're talking about what have you done? What are your certifieds? And I think you actually opened with that. Your present, you're talking about who you are, what your personality is, and your future is how you can help. Now, I throw this out to the team or out to the room and sit here and say, are you actually thinking about past, present, and future, and why you need to talk about all three when you are introducing yourself to somebody new? More importantly, when we think about that, every decision made about you is made in a room that you're not in. What I think Bill will also support me in is that your network, the people who already know you, absolutely have an opinion about who the past you is, who the present you is. What they might not know is who the future you could be. And are you aligned on helping those folks? Because you're never going to, like, Bill's never going to say what he just said to me to the people he's already met in the room. He does, however, have an opportunity to teach them new things about him. And those things, I think, should only be about the future you, which is what this conversation is all about. Because here's my tip number one. Even when you're not with decision makers, you're teaching others how to talk about you in a room that you're not in with every interaction. And I know Christy creates a community here, and each of you in this community should know how to talk about the future, whoever the other person is, all the time. Like, I sit here and I say, what is the power of this room? It's your ability to teach each other. And have you been teaching them about the past you, the present you, or the future you? Just out of curiosity, like, I'd love you to think about all of that. Okay, so it's a little bit of an intro into this whole concept. And I actually have now started calling it this idea of futentialism and being a futentilist. And it's what I actually am starting to call myself as well, because just giving myself the label of futentilist and talking about the idea of futentialism, I'm already getting you guys going, huh? What on earth is she talking about? I'm starting to teach you about the future you. I'll also share that I call myself a bit of a fairy godmother. Yes, a fairy godmother. And if you're curious as to why, I will ask you to hold your questions. And when we get to the Q&A, I give you a teaser question to ask me about why I think the glass slipper is the first example of corporate swag. It's kind of a funny story. But okay, I'm going to come back to this idea of futentialism. And I'm hearing you kind of ask, like, what is futentialism? What is a futentilist? Like, why are you talking about it? And this whole concept of the future you. So a futentilist is someone who, when it comes to humans in the workplace, designs frameworks that optimize for potential. Someone who looks at the potential of the mind, not the productivity of the machine. Think about that for a second. You hire everybody for how they think, resulting in what they do. I wonder in today's world whether we're not actually hiring for what they, evaluating on what they do rather than optimizing for how they think. A futentilist is also someone who ignores the path and takes you on an adventure. And I'm known for asking the question, like, what do you want to be? Because when you think about the idea of the future and everything that's going on in the world right now, who you want to be tomorrow and where you want to go is actually the ambition of everyone, right? Okay, so enough about me and this idea of potentialism. Now I want to talk about you. And I have two questions. Is what you wanted to, let me actually start again. Is what you want to be professionally what you are wanted for? I know, it's a sentence. Is what you wanted to be professionally what you are wanted for? And is what you aspire to why others want you? I know, I just said want like, I don't know, 8 times on purpose. And I'm going to unpack on all of that because it's super important. Okay, first, I need another volunteer because it's been, what, 3 minutes and I need another person. And I'm looking for somebody who specifically is in a moment of their career where things are absolutely awesome and you feel like you're knocking it out of the park, and what you are wanted for and what you aspire to are the same thing. Anybody in that situation? Do we have a hand going up? Kelly, can we nudge somebody? Did we get
your guinea pig?
Tracy. It looks like Tracy Virtue.
Hi, Joanna.
Hello. Okay, so here are my questions for you, Tracy. In your world of work, do you know why you matter? Are you confident about why you matter in the world of work? My second question is, do other people recognize why you matter? My third question is, are you excited about the future? And my fourth question is, are others supportive of that future? I know I just asked you 4.
Yes, and yes.
Yes, and yes. Right? I know, it's kind of a like, well, duh. Thank you. You were an amazing volunteer and helping me validate what I know is true. And so for those of you that were like, hang on a second, the answers to my questions were not yes, 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 and yes. I sit here and I say, isn't in the world of work, in the world of helping other people figure out who they want to be, in the world of manifesting your personal ambitions, isn't that what we should be aspiring to? And of course, I clicked on the wrong buttons. Oh, technology being my friend. Let me try this again. Okay, there we go. Isn't that actually what we should be aspiring to? Like, you are magic when your desirability, what you are wanted for, your aspiration, who you want to be, and let's not forget it, your compensation for that are all in alignment. Like, that's the thing to optimize for. And I sit here and I go, like, we live in a world where everybody's optimizing for productivity and optimizing for perfection and optimizing for all of this stuff in the past. When I sit here and I go, like, actually, if you start to focus on why will they want you and what do you also want, and making sure you're paid for that, that's when your best self comes to work. It's when the future you is clear, compelling, concise, wanted, needed, and you are excited about your future. And I think we've kind of lost the plot a tiny bit on that because we've kind of been brainwashed into this whole idea of sharing things about the past. Okay, hang on a second. Okay. Now I want to talk about what happens when those all go a little sideways. Because if you think about, and here I'm going to give you some spaces to think about. So it was Tracy, right? So Tracy was in what I call the awesome box. Other people want her for what she has to offer, and what she's doing fulfills her future aspirations. This, I think, is the place to optimize for. If you're not in that space, you might be bored. Now, in the bored space, other people want what you have to offer. They're still buying the future you, but it's probably not fulfilling your personal aspirations. There's something that you're like, this could be more. And the question then becomes, what is it? You might also be what I call panicky, which is however you want to describe it, but you're not sure what that thing you have to offer is actually wanted. Now, what you're probably doing is fulfilling your personal aspirations. This happens a lot when you're early in your career. This happens a lot when you have just made a pivot in your career and you're trying to think about something new. That's that point when your confidence is like, oh, is this right or am I going? And then the last stage of this is you might be fully stuck. You might be the person saying, oh my God, not only am I not confident about what it is I want to do in the future, but I'm also not sure people want to buy it. And that's often where we get stuck in our careers. And I sit here and I say, look, if you sit here and optimize for how can I add value in the future and be a little bit generous about this, and then also sit here and say, okay, how can I also be selfish and say, what is important to me and how do I want to show up? Then you're going to be able to move out of stuck, bored, and panicky into that amazing, awesome place. Okay, now I want to know where we are. So I keep sharing and then unsharing, which I don't mean to do. So let me hear, instead of just from one or two people, I want to hear from all of you. So I would like you all to go to slido.com and just type in code 56789. You can also, by the way, just hold your phone up to that QR code and it will bring it right up. And then Kelly's also dropping a link directly in the chat that will take you there. And the first question I want you to answer for me is, which quadrant are you in? Are you in awesome? Are you in bored? Are you in scared or panicky? Or are you in stuck? Oh, I love that there's an awesome coming out. That's fantastic. Couple of bored, couple of stuck. Oh, somebody just got super vulnerable and owned up to being a bit panicky and scared. Dude, I feel you, because that's me every single day. That's me right now. I'm a little panicky because I'm like, do they like this? What decision are they making in a room that I am not in? Because I am not in your heads. And I'm also going to point out, you have all chosen to either stick around or you've jumped off of this. So we've got people in all the categories. Fantastic. Love to see all that. I'm going to let the results continue to come in. But I have some thoughts for each of you based on your answers. So let's start with the board one, because this is the one I see a lot, especially in this kind of post-pandemic space. I want you to answer the following questions for yourself. What wouldn't be boring for you? How could what I do be impacted but by what would not be boring for you? And who needs to say yes to the future you? I know, what would not be boring? How could this be valuable? And who needs to say yes to it? 3 very simple questions. Because if people are buying something that you do not want to sell, then you need to give them a new product to buy. Here is kind of brain mind warp number 1. Whether you are a early in career person, you are an entrepreneur, you are a coach, you are whatever, people are purchasing a subscription to your future time. Now, here's my question. What are you selling? What are they buying? And is that in alignment? And if you're bored, what you are selling and what people are buying are not, what you're selling and what people are buying is probably in alignment, but you are not excited about the product that it is that you want to sell, which is why I asked the question, for the future you, be full on selfish. What is it you want to sell? And then say, okay, why would anybody care about that? And then the third one is, how do I teach them about it? Really simple questions that change the conversation to shift you out of board. I hope that has helped. For those of you that selected panicked or a little scared or something like that, I want you to answer the following, because I've got different questions for you. So if you're a little bit panicked, you're asking the question, well, am I good enough? Do they like me? Are they buying the thing that I'm offering? I don't even know. Well, so the first people I want you to ask, to look for, is who already believes in the future you? Who's already buying that person that you are questioning? Because finding people who actually go, yeah, it is awesome, and this is why, is probably one of the most powerful things you can do to move you from kind of a panicky state to a confident state. Now, once you've found them, ask them how they talk about why you are good at what you do, why you are going to be fantastic in the future. We talk about this idea of buying and selling your future time. When you are taking a new product to market, and this is probably the number one lesson I learned from working at a ton of startups where we were selling products that people did not understand. When we found somebody who were like, yes, please, that is amazing, we would be like, oh, we have a couple of questions for you. And we would ask them what it was they liked about the product. Why did they buy it? Why were they an early adopter? So go find out who the early adopters of you are, and the future you, not the past you, the future you, and ask them some questions. Then once you've done that, again, you are a product. Think about ask them what is valuable about that. Here's the thing about talking about yourself. We've all been taught, because it's kind of considered a bit braggy, that if you're talking about how awesome you are and all of those sorts of things, that people go, oh, no, that's kind of icky. Plus, if you're in the panicky stage, actually imagining why somebody would think you are amazing is really hard. And so I go out and say, like, ask other people who are already saying yes to the future you, how they are talking about why you are unique and awesome, and use their language, because it's a gift. Now, if you're in stuck phase, well, now you've got 6 questions to ask. And I highly recommend starting with the panicked questions as opposed to the bored questions, which I know seems counterintuitive. You're like, well, don't I want to know what I want to know? No, I need you to believe in the future you first, and actually establish that the product that you're selling doesn't just need a little bit of tweak. And so go have the conversation with the people who are already believing in the future you, and figure out why they are buying you. Now, I will also say, if you are in the awesome stage, you should still ask all of these questions, because we are all evolving, changing human people. We are all coloring outside the lines and figuring out new businesses and exploring a space where the future is ambiguous, and continually coming back and saying, okay, am I confident and excited about the future me? And are the people who are buying me buying that? Is actually how you continue to stay in that awesome space when you are your best self. And if you really want make some impact and really want to think about this, the third thing you can do is actually have this conversation with other people. Because I have no doubt that when you have truly been doing your best work, it's when not only are you confident about what it is you have to offer, and you're excited and curious about what it is you're going to do, but all the people you are collaborating with are confident about who they are and excited about what it is they're going to do. And so not only have I here, and again, we'll share this, given you a script of how to ask people about the future you, but I want you to go out and ask other people who their future you is. Like, what are they excited and curious about? Well, how do they want to matter? Because the more people that you know the answers to those questions to, the easier it is for you to collaborate. Because there's almost this, I get you, you get me, high five, low five, let's keep moving forward. And it's, you know, when you think about when you are in your best space, it's about doing that. So whether you're a coach, whether you're a solopreneur, whether you're an employee, like, start having these conversations about why do you want to matter? And what are you excited and curious to do in the future? Because those questions will start to unlock not only who the future you is, but who the future them is. And that's where potentialism starts to open up potential, starts to open up exciting conversations about what you can do and all of the awesome things. It's a magical, magical moment. And I absolutely know you have all lived there. I am just having a brutal technical time this morning on all of these. Okay. Okay, so now I've opened up this idea of like this awesome space and the future you. I want to come back to the thing I said at the beginning of the conversation, because there's so much more I could talk about with potentialism and how do you move into that space and all of those sorts of things. But I want to talk about this whole concept of every decision made about you is made in a room that you're not in. And what does it mean in this idea of the future you? Because when people are in that room, they're choosing based on three things. So one, what you've done, your accomplishments. Two, who you are. Are you somebody that somebody wants to play with? It's actually more like your personality. And three, their belief in the promise and potential of the future you, that thing you can do in the future. And if you're trying to get a job, trying to get a promotion, trying to get a client, trying to level up your career, are you just sharing what you've done? Are you helping them understand who you are? And are you talking about who you could be? And if you think about the decision that people are making in the room that they're not in, regardless of the person, they have an opinion really quickly about the first one. When they are talking to you, they are figuring out who the second one is. And one could argue you can't change your past. I would also say you can't change who you are and what you're like. My 8-year-old self is raging in me always. But what they are deciding on is who you could be. Who you could be is important. So as you are thinking about all of this, like, am I talking about who I could be and why somebody would care for that? All right, I'm going to do my last volunteer before I show you how you can play with me if you want to, but then open this up for some FAQ, because I know I always get really fantastic questions here. So last time, this one's a little bit more intense. I am now going to demonstrate how quickly you can change this. So somebody who is either in bored, stuck, or panicked, who would like one of my famous fairy godmother transformations? Do we have a hand coming up? Kelly, do I have somebody who is game for a makeover?
Not yet, but they should be. This is an awesome opportunity.
Okay, how about can we call out somebody?
I could go. This is Simin.
Okay,
Simin?
here you go.
Can you wave at the screen so I can see you? Because I like to actually see the face that I'm talking to.
You know what, Samin, you're not, your video's not on.
Yeah, and if I turn it on, it will reboot. So do you want to do that?
You know what? I'm going to do it blind. I like to see your face as we go through this, but we will do it. So Samin, just so I get a little bit of context, what is your profession? Like, if I asked you the question, what do you do? How do you answer the question today?
So I deliver products. My profession, usually as people know me, is a technical program manager.
Okay. And what's your situation? Are you looking for a job? Are you trying to get a promotion? Are you starting a company? What's the deal?
So I am currently working, recently joined a new company. I do have my own small company. And what I'm doing right now is I think I am not utilizing my potential to the fullest.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so you remember in some of my questions, I said, who is it you need to teach? because you've got two paths there, and they can work with both, but I want to make sure I give you a really great example. I could either work with you on some language on how to teach your new colleagues why you are uniquely awesome, or give you some language to talk about your business. Which one would be most helpful to you?
Let's talk about business.
Okay. Okay. So then I now need to know what is your business doing as a technical product manager?
So my business, let's talk about a business of transforming to advisor for startup companies.
Okay. As somebody who understands the intersection of technology and product.
Yes, that's
Okay.
wonderful.
Awesome. Okay. So I just want to point out that we got past Samin pretty clearly there, right? She is an advisor to technical product folks, but that's only talking about past Samin, like what she's done, her labels, and it's not, remember, we've got past, present, and future. So Samin, I need you to brag for just a second. Why are you really good at what you do?
I am good at what I do because I care, and I own the goal, the final goal of what to deliver. I do look at the overall high-level picture, as well as tending to the details and making sure that our plan is going to visual, what they say, that I can actually deliver to the plan that we have together.
Okay. All right. So this is for everybody really quickly. How many of you, and Samin, I'm gonna be a bit mean for just a second, so hold your pants on. So how many of you, no, it's all good. How many of you would say you really care about what you do? Just stick your hand up. My hope is everybody. So Samin, you no longer can say that you care, because you know what? That's a boring answer. Everybody says that. You want to teach somebody about something that's unique about you. The good news, however, is you did say something interesting. And I will put it there. So that starts to, and so that's super helpful. And so let's now talk about the future. If you could give one piece of advice to somebody about how to think about the future, like, well, actually, no, let's not do that. So what are you excited about in the world of the intersection of technology and product?
I'm excited to bring new products that can impact the world in a positive way. So realizing potentials and actually making them a reality, from an opportunity to a reality. Okay.
It's a bit like, is there impact the world in a positive way? Are you talking about health tech? Are you talking about planet tech? Are you talking about people tech? Like, what's
I like mostly health tech.
Health tech?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I've been drawing a very bad picture right now, but I'm going to show everybody. You'll see that I drew, there's nothing I love more than a Venn diagram, because look at this. And I'll tell you what my hand scratch says. In the top circle, it says tech and product. In this circle over here, it says balance. And then this circle over here, it says plus impact health. Now, you remember how I said every decision made about you is made in a room that you're not in? Imagine people just had a copy of this image. Think about what Samin said at the beginning, and now think about the story that you are telling just from this image. Pictures tell stories 6,000 times and much more memorable than a bunch of words. And there's a method to the madness here. So Samin, if I was you, and you needed to talk about the future you to people. So actually you can use this for your business and internally at your organization. What you are teaching people is how you think and what you do. And so you could say something to the effect of, ready for the fairy godmother moment, when I think about how to deliver really game-changing technical products, I'm always thinking about the balance between owning the goal and what it is you're trying to accomplish, and focusing on the details, because that's often where you fail. You get the balance right, you get an amazing product. And so I work in the space that thinks about the balance and look forward to an opportunity to have a positive impact in the healthcare space, and do that as a technical product advisor for startups.
Amazing.
How did that feel? Now,
That feels great.
I will tell you, I had a cheat sheet in front of me because I had your Venn diagram. Now imagine, let's say you're going to go talk to a startup, and this is where the Cinderella's shoe comes in. Now imagine you tore out that page and said, I don't need to remember who I am. I want you to be able to remember who I am. Here you go. How many of you now have a much, much clearer understanding of who Samina is and how she can add value to an organization? It's that simple. Now, I will own, I have done this many, many, many thousands of times, which is why I am fast at this. But you can see, like every single one of you, this is past you. What are you thinking about? Future you. And what are you aspiring for? Is that, who do I want? Past, why am I awesome? What do I want? Right? Very, very simple exercise. You can do this with anybody. And it really starts to teach not only yourself why you are awesome, but why you can help others. Samine, do you feel more confident in why you are awesome right now?
Yes, thank you.
That's the goal. And now that, do you remember how I said move from go to panicky first and then move into bold? Now I hope you have some language to help teach other people about the potential of you, because then they can say, oh my God, I want to do future shenanigans with you, which is what we are all trying to aspire for. Now, I will say, only because you've got a new job and I can't help myself, when you are starting in a new job or you are introducing yourself to a new person, they are absolutely trying to decide which bucket to put you in. They are trying to figure out what label to put you in. And so that first introduction, especially as a new leader, instead of saying, I want to tell you what I do, or I want to talk about my title, or I want to talk about almost stickers and badges, open with how you think, because that's who they need to know. And especially for leaders, and I want you to think about this for a second. We've all worked for, whether they were awesome or not, people who were consistent about who they were and how they thought and how they were going to react to things, and were kind of unapologetic about it. And if you are that over time, people understand how to choose you. And I'll give you two fairly famous examples that are really different. So Elon Musk, kind of a crazy person, not entirely sure I agree with everything he says, but he says wackadoo stuff to get people to react, to generate revenue, to pay for all of his genius and brilliant ideas. And he's kind of unapologetic about who he is. Am I saying you all need to grow up and be like Elon Musk and have an Elon Musk approach to how you teach people about the future you? No, because you might resonate more with, let's use Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Unbeatedly clear about who she is and what she was all about. Very different style, very different past, very different personality, also had aspirations for the future. And if you don't think she wasn't using graphics to tell a story, I just want to remind you about the colors. They absolutely send a message. So for all of you, what I hope you got out of this conversation is, when you think about the future product of you, which is the thing you are selling to other people every single day, I want you to hold both your ambitions and your aspirations and how to be generous in the same hand. Because it's when you do both, you're able to manifest and collaborate and do all the things that you want to do. You get to actually be your awesome self. So let me give you one last thing before I open up for Q&A, because I'm sure you're all like, wait, what? Hang on. How do I get a makeover? I want one of those. Okay. So first of all, I'm going to come back to my where are you question. If you are in the awesome space and you're like, I need to amplify this, drop us a note at hello@theamplifylab.com, because I want to kind of understand why and what, because every engagement we do with individuals is bespoke. Second of all, if you are bored and it's time to do the next thing and explore the next thing, I highly, highly recommend the Future You program. It is all sorts of analysis and one-on-one sessions with me. Kelly's going to be dropping a link in the chat. If you are panicky, remember, I want you to believe in you first. And so we have a 2-week texting program. It is a whopping $10. And it is so transformative on confidence that if you sign up, do the challenges that I will give you in the 2-week texting program, and it's 3 texts a week for two weeks. And yes, I do respond to the texts. If you don't at the end of it go, oh, actually, I feel better about myself, I will give you your money back. Then you can have time. Well, so I've never had anybody actually do a refund yet, so I'm feeling pretty confident about that. And if you were intrigued by what it is I have to say today, I will share with you that I am live every Friday at noon Pacific here on Zoom with a bunch of other people, where I talk about Futentialism, the future you, how to learn to sell yourself. We have all sorts of crazy conversations. There's big FAQs. So if you want to learn more about this idea, I've kind of scratched the surface today. You can sign up to come to the live show that we do at noon. We've actually got one today, and then every other week. Again, Kelly's going to be dropping this in chat. So thank you for your time and attention. I hope very much that I have inspired you to action, and this has got you guys thinking a little bit about this concept of the future you. I am climbing a mountain, folks. I am heartbroken that in the world of work, that we only talk about our performance. We only talk about our past. We only talk about what we've done. We have an entire community of amazing, amazing talent in the working world who are heartbroken because they get performance reviews and are told that they are broken. I sit here and I say, why are we not talking about doing potential reviews? Why are we not helping people understand how to sell their future self as opposed to optimize for perfection? It seems crazy to me. The fact that we use resumes to tell the story about who we are and what we're about is insane. I'm sorry, but a can of beans does a better job of selling itself. Like, a resume is about as interesting as a nutrition label is on that can. I mean, at least the can of beans has a serving size. And do not get me started about job descriptions. I have an equal problem with them too. So if anybody's in HR here and you're all like, wait, what? Come to a show, I'll rant about those too as well. The future me conversation is liberating and interesting and starts to anchor in what is innately human. And in the future of work, as a former technologists, robots, artificial intelligence, blockchain is going to continue to transform the world of work. And if you are talking about what you can do like a robot and not talking about who you could be and how you can solve future problems, you're going to be competing against the machines. And I don't think anybody wants that. So start thinking about the future you, because you got an early intro into things. So that is my presentation. We've got, my clock is off, a couple of minutes for some Q&A. If anybody has any questions. Kelly, did we get any in chat that I should be aware of?
We have not received any in chat yet, but people have been really jazzed about everything you've been talking about.
Awesome.
Yeah. So Anne Marie has a question. She just raised her hand. Anne Marie, go ahead and ask Joanna.
Yeah, I'm trying to unmute. So yeah, excellent. And I really have, I heard you before, so I love all that. And I've tried, I do have a future me conversation all the time. The challenge I have though, is oftentimes the person on the other side wants to check the box, and they don't want to have a future me conversation. And so I've kind of said, and I've hired before myself, I said, there's maybe, and I just, it's the 80-20 rule, I guess I'd take, there's maybe 20% of the people that really hire from a strategic perspective about that like connection, that future me. And, and I was one of those, and I would say like, oh, that's the person I want. I'll find a job for them. And so when if you're one of those and you're 20% and the other is 20%, then your chance is like 4%. And so it's like, how do you cultivate finding the person on the other side and get them into the ability to have that future me conversation?
I don't think you even need to cultivate, because here's the thing. So let's go back to sales training 101. If you can anticipate an objection, the best thing to do is to actually talk about the objection before it becomes an objection. And I get it. When you come out with this future me conversation, a lot of people are like, wait, what? Hang on a second. What did you just do there? That seemed unusual. And I will confess, I've been talking about this for 6 years now, and I still do this when I meet somebody. When they say to me, oh, hey, Joanna, nice to meet you. What do you do? I go, funny. That's actually what I teach. But here's the thing. If we are going to continue this conversation, you're going to decide whether you want to do future stuff with me or not. And so future stuff is about the future me. So when I answer the question, what do? I don't talk about past me, because while it's interesting, who you want to know is future me. So I'm going to teach you who that is. And then you can decide whether you want to play with me or not. Now I've told the whole story up front. They're going to be open to me talking about this future me thing, right? Now, if they still shut you down, my guess is they are not your people. Because if they are not interested enough to say, how can we do future shenanigans and things like that, which they might be all like, weirdo, no, then they're not going to be your people. They're not going to be ones. And that's a really easy filter mechanism.
Yeah, I mean, usually they'll engage in the conversation, but then you get back to that same thing where it's like, well, I really am looking for the person who's been doing this for 20 years. So yeah, definitely is an interesting thing.
Well, so that's a different issue. Because now, and again, I'm going to come back to what is the thing that they are trying to buy, and how is the product being done? What they're telling you, I'm afraid, if they're saying, I'm looking for the person who's done it for 20 years.
No, they're not telling you that. That's what they don't even realize that they know.
Because they don't say it out loud. But if you think that that's what the objection is, then you haven't done a good enough job, super sorry, of bridging and showing that the future product of you is better than somebody who's done it for 20 years. Now, I totally get, especially for those of you that are in the normal apply for a job corporate world, that applicant tracking systems and how the resume process worked is basically killing any of that opportunity. Like if you are applying for jobs by hitting that apply button and your keywords do not match exactly the keywords in the job description and more. And by the way, here's a separate, check out a company called Intry, INTRY.com, who I think are doing some fascinating work around resume optimization and working with the applicant tracking systems. And horrifying data point, by the way, the largest applicant tracking system in the United States is still run on DOS. I know. I nearly lost my mind when I found that out. I was like, that is not a good thing for our future. I'm hoping somebody's going to fix that. But if you are getting stuck in that, you have to find the people who can understand. You have to kind of go around the applicant tracking process, or go around I need somebody to be in this box, and actually figure out who you can teach why that is better. I will also say, and this is why this is hard. If you have somebody who is panicky in their own job, so if the hiring manager is in panicky state, they are not going to have the confidence to break the rules. Which is why, again, as you are building relationships and having conversations, it is perfectly fine to have the conversation in an interview or in an informational interview about how they want to matter and what they are excited and curious to do, because you will find out whether they are bored, stuck, or panicky, or if they are awesome. Because I do want to remind you, in this whole world of work, it's a bi-directional marketplace. They get to choose you, you also get to choose them. And I don't know about you, but I want to work for the awesome people. I don't want to work for the board people because there's a whole thing there. And I certainly don't want to work for Stuck and Panicky unless I'm panicky about the same thing and we're like, okay, we totally own this and get this. That's, you know, when people talk about authenticity, I'm like, it's okay to be bored. Well, it's okay to be panicky, but be open about it so that people can understand that that's a lot of the decision-making that's happening in your own head. It's a really easy framework to helping figure out why somebody is saying no. Is that helpful?
Yeah, thank you.
Keep doing the things, Anne-Marie. I love it.
Okay, there's one more question. How can you help colleagues, coworkers to see their potential and realize it?
Well, use the framework again. What I always, so a lot of the questions that I ask, like, what are your ambitions? And I caveat that with, so many people are really, when you hear like, what are your ambitions? What do you aspire to? Often go to like, what is going to go on my gravestone? What is my legacy? Which is not the question, because that's so like, my legacy is I want to be known as Bette Midler when I grow up, just saying. That's a fantasy dream, right? You actually want to pull it in. And I often find myself asking, especially if somebody is in that panicky state, I say like, well, what do you want to be doing next year? And I will also say that this has been exacerbated by the pandemic. Like everybody is thinking about this, but like, who do you want to be and where do you want, like, what do you want to be doing next year? They may always come back and say title label. If they give you title label as an answer, they're not thinking deeply enough. And you say, no, 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 I don't mean what promotion did you get or what is your next rung on the ladder? What are you doing? What are you thinking about? What are you excited about? Who are you talking to? And really talk about the mechanics. That will get them thinking around what it is they are talking about. The other thing you can do for them is give them the question. So I'm going to come back to, we are all selling a subscription to our future time. And I know Samin will probably tell you that the first thing you do when you're bringing a product to market is some customer research. So go ask the people who are already buying you what they're buying you for. So if somebody doesn't know what the answer to what is my potential is, have them go do a survey on their customers and say, like, when I'm killing it in a room, what is it I'm doing? What do you see? Do you see patterns in how I think? And start doing that evaluation. I will say, if you are interested in the Future You program that I talked about at the beginning, which is a little bit more robust, we actually do that entire process with the person. We have you go through a self-assessment where we ask you a bunch of questions. And then the very next thing is we say, like, who are 5 people who are already buying you? And we go ask them for you. And then in your first session with me, we sit here and go, this is what you said. This is what they said. Let's talk about the differences, because I guarantee you never, I've done so many of these, the answers have never been the same, because your perception of what you are wanted for and other people's perception of what you are wanted for are often different. The really interesting thing starts to happen when you start to say, okay, now I know, what do I want to do with it? Like, how do I want to change that language and where do I want to go with it? And that's where Joanna, the salesperson of the Future You, starts to put her other hat on. And I go, okay, now we know what the product is. How do we start a go-to-market plan? What are all the things that you need to do? How do you get confident talking about it? How do you put the right graphics up? How do we make sure, and no, I do not write resumes and LinkedIn profiles, because there are many, many other people who are much better at that. And that is not the point, because those are a bunch of keywords. But how do you leverage something like Twitter, LinkedIn, a speaking career, how to build your business? Like, what is your go-to-market plan becomes thing, because I, in essence, become the startup junkie for you. And that, you know, I've taken lots of companies from idea to $1 billion. And whatever it might not be $1 billion for you, it might be something else. And whatever that is where we optimize, which is why I say this is a hugely bespoke experience. And Bill, I'm just going to say, you have been nodding at me for like the last 10 minutes, and my little panicky self, this is what I'm talking about, folks. I now have Bill doing this at me, and I'm going, okay, it's landing. It's good. It's good. This is what we can all do. Have people around you who are champions of the Future You, because it's empowering, because it makes me even more bold with what I teach and what I share, which is what we all want.
Joanna, thank you so much. And Kelly, let's talk about what we want to include in the email that we send out with the recording to all of those who may have had to drop off early. And if you want to watch it again, it's going to be there. And how to get in touch with Joanna, how you can work with Joanna, and all of that. So looking forward to that. And Joanna, we'd love to have you again if you'll be here.
Of course. Yes, Christy, I
Awesome.
will, as co-ambition guides for each other, I will always show up. And, for all of you who work, this is all I do every day is teach people about this concept of the future you.
And you're good at it.
Thank you. This is my life's work. And so I'm always on the lookout for other organizations or companies who want to come shake their team up a bit or want to shape their group up a bit around this idea, because I do believe so much that it's a path for a much more positive and human future. And I don't know about the rest of you, but after the last year, I'm like all that every day, 100%. So thank you.
All right, everyone. We'll see you next week, I think. And thank you for joining us. And thank you, Joanna, from the bottom of our heart.
Oh, thank
for
you.
being here with us. Enjoy the rest of the day. Enjoy the weekend.